And dear friends, let's continue with some more news now. And as I said, unfortunately, Middle East is getting uh, way too close to regional war, as I was predicting. And for example, RIA Novosti is reporting that according to Western media, CBS to be more precise, Israel is ready to launch an operation in Iran against Islamic Republic, against nuclear facilities of Iran, and God knows what else. So Israel is fully prepared to begin a military operation in Iran. The American television, American TV channel CBS News reported, citing U.S. sources, and this is obviously extremely dangerous. At the same time, it is noted that Washington expects that Iran may launch a retaliatory strike against some American facilities if in neighboring Iraq, and I will add not just in neighboring Iraq, all over the Middle East, most likely, if Iran is attacked. And for example, we have this report that U.S. Embassy in Iraq prepares to send 1,000 staff members home to conduct evacuation, basically. So the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad is preparing to return 1,000 employees back to United States as a part of cost-cutting program. Yes, cost-cutting program. Al-Haddad TV channel reported, and this is definitely evacuation that is taking place. And it's not just Iraq, by the way. Yesterday, late evening, I posted on my Telegram and Twitter X page this news, for example, that U.S. Naval Forces Command in Bahrain, home of the Fifth Fleet, and their CENTCOM, has been placed on high alert. Families of American servicemen have been advised to prepare for possible evacuation aimed at rising regional tensions. This comes as U.S.-Iran negotiations stall and military posturing intensifies across the Gulf. In reality, it's not the Gulf or the Gulf states, it's U.S. and Israel that are escalating. And we have information from Iran also that, excuse me, Tehran warns U.S. and Israel that any act of aggression will be caught by surprise. This was reported by surprise steps from Iran. This was reported by Iranian press TV. Iran is at its highest level of military readiness. Also noted, this came as reports say Israel may strike Iran in coming days without U.S. assistance, and obviously this is all BS when it comes to Israeli strikes. Obviously, all the steps, all the actions against Iran will be closely coordinated, and is closely coordinated between Israel, U.S., UK, and potentially a number of other countries, NATO member states included. And also, in addition, dear friends, we have this report that Western media is also reporting, not just Iranian press TV, but Western media, New York Times, for example, that Iran has developed a plan to retaliate in case of Israeli attack. Iran has developed a plan for retaliatory strike in the event of attack from Israel. New York Times writes, so Iranian military and government officials have already met to discuss their response to a potential Israeli strike. Tehran has developed a response plan that could include an immediate counterattack on Israel using hundreds of ballistic missiles. A newspaper is stating, citing sources, and yet again, one should keep in mind that just a day or two ago, Iran's defense ministry stated that if a country is attacked, they will take action against all U.S. military assets in a region, not just against Israel, but also against U.S. military assets in a region. And when it comes to U.S. assets, it's tens of thousands of troops and there are dozens of bases. literally dozens of military bases all around Iran, right? Almost all around Iran. Afghanistan might be exception. And although I'm not even sure about that, because recently, you remember, there was a information on the internet that Washington was considering to make a deal with the Taliban government of Afghanistan so that US will have access again to Bagram airfield, which definitely can be used to station equipment there and then use it against Iran. And by the way, let's take a look at the map. This is, as I said many times before, these developments around Iran definitely not comes as a surprise to me, and probably wouldn't come as a surprise to majority of our community, because for many times I did try to explain my vision of their situation in regards to Iran, Middle East, and in regards to geopolitical struggle between the collective West and China. And I believe when it comes to Iran or the regional war in the Middle East, Israeli government, Zionists, Israeli lobby in US, American neocons, by the way, and also globalists, they all are on the same page. They all have, for their particular reasons, but they all want regional war to happen in the Middle East. They all want Iran to be attacked. And I will explain once again why I think so. When it comes to Israel, by the way, it is obvious Israel was quite, never really hide too much that their strategy is to weaken every country in the region, which will allow them to basically dominate, and that's what they do. Israel used its influence in US to basically obliterate with US force many countries in the Middle East, right? From Iraq to Libya to Syria, I mean, you name it. Iran is definitely on that list, right? And therefore, obviously, Israel is using its influence to orchestrate attack on Iran. Israel on itself, on its own, cannot do that. But, well, with American help, with help of US, UK, and a number of other NATO member states, probably they have a hope that they can destroy Iran and put some puppet regime there afterwards. That's Israeli side. When it comes to US neocons, well, US neocons are always about wars, right? That's how they make money. US neocons, deep state, military industrial complex, CIA, they are all in bed with each other, right? They all make money. They all increase their influence based on constant wars, right? That's why US is always engaged in some wars, by the way, on this planet. So that's the neocons' reasoning. And also, by the way, when it comes to globalists and Western ruling class in general, they want regional war to happen in the Middle East, which will be provoked undoubtedly if they are attacking Iran. Their interest is to shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait, so that main beneficiary of their energy from this region, China, will experience some major economical issues, right? Because no countries in this world, by the way, can compensate for a volume of oil and gas that will be lost from a world energy market, if regional war in the Middle East is provoked and Persian Gulf and Hormuz Strait are shut down, right? So globalists and the Western ruling class in general, they want to basically harm China, to strike China and Chinese economy. That's why they want also a regional war to be started. And as you can see, dear friends, all the influential forces, in my reading of the big picture anyways, all the influential forces are in the West are on the same page when it comes to Middle East. They all have interest to attack Iran, to create a regional war, right? For different reasons, maybe Israel has its own reasoning, neocons their own reasoning, globalists or Western ruling class in general their own, right? But they all want regional escalation in the Middle East, and I'm afraid that's exactly what is going to happen. And there was many indicators, by the way, many indicators that U.S. administration were not an honest actor in these talks with Iran that was taking place during the previous couple of months. I believe 5 rounds of negotiations had already happened. Iran was compromising and was very open to reach the deal with the American side. After all, it was Iran's proposal that they will agree a consortium to be created in the Middle East, part of which will become Iran's nuclear facilities that are engaged in enrichment of uranium. And this consortium and their Iranian plants will be under IAEA's control, or under control of, not control, but under observation, monitoring of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, which is on its own controlled by US. So if Washington was an honest actor, it would agree on this deal, on this compromise from Iranian side, but it did not. It did not, and Trump and many other officials in US time and again were stating that Iran should completely get rid of enrichment capabilities. Perfectly well, while they knew perfectly well that this is a red line that cannot be crossed. Iran did not sacrifice tens of years, did not spend, and many scientists, by the way, that were killed, literally killed by Israeli secret services. Iran did not spend billions of dollars on an educational program, right? On building these facilities to reach a technological level of being able to enrich uranium, to give up now all of it, right? This is not happening. But they were compromising, right? They were ready to join this consortium, allow US or IAEA to have a presence there, direct or indirect, and constantly monitor the situation to be sure that Iran is not enriching uranium beyond whatever is necessary for nuclear reactors, civilian nuclear reactors, right? But the US is refusing to take this deal, this compromise from Iran. And well, now we are receiving these reports that, well, US is beginning to evacuate its civilian personnel for now. Recently, we had reports that US was transferring additional air defense systems into region. Preparations are underway, by the way. The US was engaged with Turkey, with Saudi Arabia, UAE, number of other regional countries, even with Afghanistan leadership, by the way, to somehow, to prepare basically as much as possible ground for potential attack on Iran, and to make sure that these regional countries will either support this aggression against Iran or at least would stay neutral. And now I'm afraid we are getting like step closer or step away maybe even from the final escalation, which is which is going to be absolutely tragic for this world, by the way, for Middle East, obviously, and for the rest of the world. And if US will actually get engaged in military hostilities against Iran, that might be a beginning of the end of US itself. And while all this stuff is happening, by the way, this morning, this news broke that Omani foreign minister confirmed that a new round of US-Iran talks will still take place on Sunday in Muscat, capital of Oman. Earlier, obviously, doubts were cast on these talks, and reports of possible military clash. And to be honest, I have some doubts that this sixth round of negotiations will even take place. It is a sixth round, isn't it? If I remember correctly. We will find out. Today is first day, isn't it? So let's see how the situation develops next several days. But I'm afraid US was never honest in these talks. They were just gaining time to prepare as much as they can for military hostilities against Iran. And I guess US leadership, Israeli leadership, British leadership, and leadership of some other countries that are going to be involved in this aggression against Iran are thinking that they are ready now. And that's why we are seeing now this escalation. Yet again, from the collective West, right? From Israel and from US. Because Iran on its own is saying that we are ready for compromise, but we're going to defend ourselves. What else you expect, by the way? So that's the situation with Iran and the Middle East. Something big is about to happen there. Something dramatic and extremely dangerous for the world, in my understanding.
Hello everyone, I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with the crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.